All right, Chris, thanks for joining us.
Of course.
In this beautiful courtyard, beautiful day in Corona. First question, how old are you?
I am currently 21. By the time people see this, I'll be 22 because my birthday's in like a week or two.
All right. How old were you when you started skating?
Started skating, I was probably about real young, younger than I can even remember. Like, I don't remember even taking my first push.
Really?
If
So
that
you're
makes
talking
sense.
like 5?
4 or 5, like
Wow.
first push, and then or like sitting on a board
Who got
pushing.
you into skating at that young?
My brother had like skateboards and bikes just laying around because he was like 10 years older than me.
Oh,
we have
okay.
different dads.
Okay. I saw in an interview somewhere that you grew up with your mom and your grandma, is that right?
Mom was in rehab until I was about 3 years old, I think, and then she started to come back around, and then Grandma and Grandpa raised me from like pretty much my whole life, and my mom moved in with them once I was about 10 years old. She moved from Long Beach back in with them because she was sober for about 10 years. So yeah, it was crazy. So once she got sober, she had like a room in the house again. It was pretty tight. So that all started once I was like 10 years old.
Wow. And your dad wasn't in the picture?
Nah, he died before I ever met him when I was like 7.
So he didn't live in the house with you guys up to that point because you were living with your grandma and your grandpa at that point?
My dad was in 29 Palms.
Oh,
Or
okay.
was it 29 Palms? Joshua Tree, I think they lived in.
Oh, okay.
And he was, I want to say he was up in Bakersfield when he died, though. He was up in Bakersfield when he got shot. And, like, come to find out, there was, like, I met my dad's mom and dad recently, like, in the last, like, year or two. And there was, like, come to find out, there was, like, autopsy reports and stuff of, like, the gunshot wound being from, like, one side of his head or something like that. But apparently the cop was on the other side of him. So, like, I don't know. There was, like, some sketchy shit going on in Bakersfield at the time of this, too. This was, like, 14 years ago now. And, like, Bakersfield cops, I guess, have always been kind of sketchy. So, like, I don't know, 10 years later, they found out about all this, and it was, like, too late to do anything. But
That's really
that was
gnarly.
crazy finding out pretty later on in life.
I mean, it's
was just
gnarly
like,
that he
fuck.
got killed by the police anyway. That's still gnarly. That's
Yeah.
gnarly enough.
It was not so much like they just kind of were on, like, a rampage against him, though. It was kind of more like he was found with, like, 2-point-something milliliters of dopamine in his system or something like that. Like, he was on meth. Drove, like, full force at the cop because I guess he was going to go back to jail again for some reason, like. And
Yeah.
they called the cops on him because I guess some dude in the trailer park where he was getting close from with this chick was like not like not, I think, like, I guess he like was saying that my dad was gonna hit him or something or like fight him, and so he called the cops, and the cops came, and my dad didn't want to go back to jail, so he just drove full force at the cops, and that's when they just like took defense, I guess, or whatever, and
Yeah.
shot him.
Oh, man, that's heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say I'm sorry that's heavy just to know that. I mean,
Yeah.
how's it been for you in your life to not really have a dad?
It was one of those things where, like, people would always say that, like, oh, that's tragic, that's tragedy, tragic, or whatever, but, like, it'd be more tragic if I known him those 7 years up to the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Had I not, or because I didn't, it was not really something, like, not to say I'm cold-hearted and I have no feelings towards that, like, it kind of gets me, like, a weird warm feeling, kind of like to not know that feeling, but it's like at the same time that this is all I've ever known, so
Yeah,
you
that
just
makes
kind of
sense.
get used to it, I guess, you know?
Yeah. I guess it's hard for people to hear it because they imagine themselves
and
themselves
if their
losing their dad.
Yeah.
Because they already have that relationship.
So that's probably honestly what's made me understand it most is
Yeah.
everyone's reaction to it. I
Yeah.
see that it's tragic, and I've built an understanding to it through all the years, more so than me feeling it myself.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah, it's almost like I feel bad at this point telling people it because I
Yeah.
see them start to feel bad.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
don't want
like-
to burden them with this
exactly
heavy story.
And since elementary school, when people would first tell me, like, I didn't talk about it up until like interviews started coming back around and people found out that was my story.
Yeah.
Because like I was never one to just boast about that, you know. 'Cause-
Yeah, that would be something weird to talk about. It's yeah. I can
yeah,
imagine.
and then I guess just like as a kid, I remember even the day my grandma or my mama, I don't remember who told me, my mom or my grandma told me, the first thing I said was, okay, can I go to Nate's house? I just wanted to go to my friend's house and play right after that. Like there was nothing clicked, nothing.
Because there wasn't a relationship
Nope.
there that it was like they were telling you a stranger died.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you kind of realize that you were better than the other kids? I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but like, when did you realize like it was something that it was a gift that you had? Not only how much time did you spend on it, but like that you were so driven to make something of your skateboarding. Like, when did that dawn on you? Or do you think it just gradually happened?
When I first started noticing I was better than people, I wouldn't say that, but all my friends were like kind of calling it out on me. They were like, oh, he's the prodigy child, golden boy, this and that. whatever like you could think of for a little kid that could like.
What age is this?
12. At 12 years old.
12.
I remember going to Hollywood and hard flipping it when I know it probably had been done already by some pro, but like just for local friends, you know, like
I
it
mean,
was just
I
kind
don't know.
of
13 years ago, I don't know if it had been 10 years ago. No, 10 years ago. I don't. Anyway, possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
But as a kid, that stuff doesn't matter. What's been done doesn't matter. When you're a kid going
Exactly.
and hucking, you just
And
want to go huck.
Yeah, and so all the hype from my friends, just all the like cool like.
So at
things
12 years old, you hard flipped the 12.
Yeah, and
Wow.
ollied the 16, and I remember the reason I ollied the 16. And in the footage, I'm in the air and I say, "What's up, Donald?" Because my buddy Donald, who skated the park, was like, "You ain't touching the 16."
Really?
And so when I ollied the
called him out?
16, I had to make sure, as a little kid, just to be like, "What's up, Donald?"
What's up, Donald?
That's sick. I mean, yeah, definitely if you're hard flipping the 12 at 12 years old, that seems like you're on your way. When did you first get sponsored?
Around that time, that footage was my sponsor me
Really?
for Powell. I had a buddy, Stephen Bond. He skated for Powell Peralta at the time. He was like maybe 2 or 3 years older than me, and we went out skating with DeVille. Like we filmed that from like time I was like 12, 13. I think when I was 14, and he like finally showed the footage to him, and it was like whatever. He was like, "Okay, cool, let's go skate with them." And then you ever been to the Albertsons rails?
No.
The 8 and 9 rail in HB. Like everyone skates some circle, tan wall, kind of.
Oh, okay.
There's a drop-in gap right there. Current Capos had like a sick kickflip back in the day off it, and I like tried to hard flip it in front of DeVille, and I remember that was just like, oh, I didn't land it. I like broke my board or whatever, and I was just like kind of like had heel bruise, and I was like, oh, I'm good, like can't really do this anymore or whatever. And we went to Eldo that night, and that was it. I just started riding for Powell. Like I don't know, he was down,
Wow.
so I started sending me Powell boards. I got like a box of 3 boards, and I was like, this is fucking tight. Dude.
Yeah, I remember my first box. I think was only 1 board, and I just remembered being like through the roof. Like
Yeah.
couldn't believe someone sent me a free board. It was a big deal.
It is.
So,
Dude.
yeah,
Still
I-
is. I still love getting boxes.
I know. It's still tight. So you got hooked up by Powell, but around this time period, like you already have kind of like determined. I mean, when did you start jumping off stuff? I mean, that seems like pretty early. Like,
Well, as a
right?
kid, I didn't have much pop. I still don't have the most pop, you know? So I had to learn a lot of tricks. Like I could 3-flip off a ledge like this high before I could do it on flat.
Really?
Yeah, that was how I learned flip tricks. So that was kind of like how I've always known to like, I don't know. I want to say slow tricks down, but no, now I flip them fast, and it's kind of like how I've grown to do them faster on flat. But as a kid, learning them off stuff was easier.
Do you think that was like your specialty when you're really young, was just doing stuff down drops? I mean, because I remember seeing you at a demo or a contest, or maybe it was like one of those Scheckler Foundation events, and it was just like an 11 stair. I just remembered seeing you just rifle tricks off the 11 stair, and it seemed like that's what you grew up doing. Is that what you grew up doing?
Yeah. That and just floating around Cerritos and Eldo, like the tranny. So like, I feel like that's kind of helped me out in certain like crazy DIY situations. Like a couple of things I've skated recently that are like shitty tranny. I'm like, oh, this feels like my local park, you know?
Oh,
So I
yeah,
could do
yeah.
a little like, for instance, I filmed this big flip back nose blunt stall on like a crusty thing in Cologne, Germany. It's like a bank that Willow skates all the time out there.
Yeah, and it was similar to
A ramp at Eldo, and I was just like, this is crusty like Eldo. I could probably do it on this, and it's like sick. I got this trick that I never thought I'd film in the streets because you don't find crusty tranny really ever.
That makes sense.
Or nor do you practice it because you don't think it's gonna like be a whatever, you know, like whatever reason.
Do you think that you skated more than most kids? Because, I mean, looking at, you know, the things you're notorious for is doing tricks really quickly and being very consistent. So, do you think that that's how many hours you put in?
Yeah, I mean more so like routinely just practicing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, was it practice or was it just something that you loved to do? I mean,
Yeah.
did you want to get better at certain tricks and like you warm them up and then practice them and then take them to bigger stuff? Like, was it something conscious you were doing, or was it just like, you know, being a kid and putting off shit?
That's a good point. To be honest, I kind of learned a lot through skateboarding. Like I learned determination. I learned confidence. I learned what you're saying right now. That I didn't even know I was practicing really. I was having fun, but eventually later on in life, learning that skateboarding would be my career. It's like all these years I have been practicing, you know. But like, yeah, I was so young as a kid that I didn't first think as like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I'm practicing right now. Like I'm thinking like this is just fun, you know. To any other
you and your
kid,
friends are pushing each other.
yeah, to any other kid, I'm hanging on the monkey bars right now,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm riding a skateboard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like fun.
I looked at, I mean, I've obviously seen all your parts. I'm a true fan of skateboarding, and I've seen your kind of like rise, and I've seen your video parts come out, and I've watched every one on like premiere day, and you know, we watched the Niger part yesterday, and I'm just a fan of skateboarding, and I've watched it all happen, and I've heard a lot of stories about like, well, so first off, I think you've put out like maybe 10 parts in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I would say 10 parts, but like, I wouldn't say they're all like we did like the best we could have done, because some of them are real street. You know, you only got a minute.
Yeah,
you can't really.
But there's.
I guess we did make do with what we had.
Yeah, and there's
though,
4 or 5 of those parts that, I mean, maybe you don't even know or care, but there's 4 or 5 of those parts that have 1 million views on YouTube. Like, there's a lot of kids that like watching you jump off shit, and that's pretty gnarly. There's not a whole lot of skateboarders out there that have, you know, I mean, what was it, like the Barracks or someone said that, you know, you've shined really bright in this short period of time, and that's pretty heavy to do. And you know, and some of them I've heard stories like the Etnies part. Didn't you do that in a month or something?
Yeah, we did do that one in a month.
What motivates you to want to push it that hard, I guess, and run it that hot?
Yeah, I think I've just kind of built my confidence up to where if somebody asks, like, I mean, I'm just not going to decline it, you know?
Yeah.
And if I feel like if you don't decline it, I mean, honestly, with anything in life, if you go into it with the thought of completing it, 99% of the chance it's going to succeed. You know, like if you really put a full
that's
effort.
worked for you.
Like I'm 21 years old and just had my first kid, and like, I'll be honest with you, that is not something like I thought would have been happening like a few years ago, you know? But when it happened and like the opportunity came around, I was like, let's do it. Like, let's have a kid. Why not?
Yeah.
Like, I'm only gonna succeed if I try.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Type thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I only look at that in things that I want to do it in, though. Like, for example, I don't look at that when I look at rails. I don't look at rails like I want to succeed really hard at like rail skating, ledge skating, like manual skating. Like I look at all that stuff as like I'm gonna progress on that at a certain level, at my own level. But I took a knowledge of progression that was excelling in certain areas, and like my grandma being raised like around a bunch of like my grandma raised a lot of kids, like not raised but like helped with my nephew and niece. So like I just had experience there, and I was like, I had confidence. So I was like, all right, let's just do it. Like, so with anything, I guess if you just have confidence, for me at least, if I just have confidence in it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and that's basically you had confidence in all the things you were going to try for these parts, and you just went out and did them.
Yeah, or like even so, like 4 weeks, the month that we filmed that Etnies part in, that was kind of like planned. They were like, hey, if we could do this in a month, like we know you can do it, let's do it.
No one's ever put that request on anybody ever in skateboarding. Like you were like the first guy to get like, hey, can you film a part in a month? Like I've been skating a long time. I made a bunch of video parts, and I filmed a bunch of video parts, and like that's not normal. You know what I mean? So yeah. Obviously they know who they're working with, and they'd skated with you already to know that you were capable of doing that. But I mean, I don't know. It's a true testament to the grit and the work ethic that you have to pull that off, you know. And then there's another part. There's another part that, you know, that was going to be for the LRG video. It's 12 Days in China, I think it's called. Thrasher part, and it's pretty much another video part that you filmed in 12 Days in China. And I mean, I know it helps in China to have like you have amazing spots, and you don't really get kicked out as much, you know, as you do here. But I mean, how does your body do with that? I know you're young, you know, but
at that age, I think I was like 19, and I was kind of like not really so good with alcohol at the moment. Kind of had a couple of trips where I was probably pissing people off, not gonna lie. Yeah. I remember skating to a spot and like hitting a crack, and I dropped over a sink towel and broke a whole bottle and like cut my arm open, and I was just like, great. And they're probably looking at me like, fucking idiot. Like, I don't know.
So
like,
you were drinking that much on that trip and getting all those tricks in 12 days?
I was hammered every day of that trip.
Can you skate hammered?
I did at the time, yeah. It would just give me the liquid courage, you know?
Heavy, man.
Yeah. But that was just kind of like, I don't know, I got kicked out, or not kicked, I left my grandma's house at 18. I was out on my own, fucking 19 years old. I just kind of felt like I had a lot of weight on my shoulders at the time and wasn't expecting it, didn't know how to deal with it, and just turned to alcohol for a bit. But the good thing was, it was like, got to a point where, like, it was like a signing. We would get drunk or whatever, do a demo. So I was like skating drunk, you know, like whatever, like that was just trips too, though. Trips in general. I was like stoked to be out of the country. Like it was a whole mixture of things, you know. Like
and most of those places you can drink when you're 18 too, right?
Yeah, and like I just kind of have a past of like known to be. Even when I was 14, I did this. Like I just kind of went down a little bit of a wrong path for a couple of months. Like chose to hang out with the wrong people in 8th and 9th grade. Summer going into 9th grade, and that was when I like first started like smoking weed again or whatever, and fucking drinking and. Yeah, I stopped from the time I was like 16 to the time I was like 18, 19, really like drinking hard at least. Like I went on my first DC trip when I was 16, and I went to Madrid for a week with them and then Copenhagen for a week. And I remember in Copenhagen waking up at like a Shell gas station one morning, fucking after taking shots at the bar with Bulala and Dolan. Yeah, like that's something like I told that story for a long time, but it made me fucking scared the shit out of me to drink after that for a bit.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck that, dude. I don't want to wake up in no gas station not knowing where the hell I'm at. I had to look up in the sky and see like Tivoli. You know the Tivoli that everyone stays at every year? And I saw the Tivoli sign finally. And I don't know, it was just a weird experience, dude. And I stopped drinking for like...
woke up lost. Like, how did I get here?
Fully. Like, plus I'm just like, dude, I don't know. I'm not good at having 1 or 2 drinks and just chilling, you know?
Do you think that maybe runs in the genes, or you think that...
Yeah, I have a highly addictive personality, and that's why when I found a love for skateboarding, it was like an addiction, you know?
Yeah.
And like if I'm addicted to
something...
something...
You're able to channel that addiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Whereas maybe, you know, if you'd have been chosen something else, you might have killed it at that, but it might have been not a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's sick that you found something like that. And that it's also good that, I mean, 21, like, you may feel like you've arrived, but, you know, I'm double your age, and 21, you're still really young. It's cool that you're figuring this stuff out. You're having these experiences, you're living through them, you know, and you're able to reflect on them at such a young age to know that, oh, I don't want to do that again.
For sure.
You know, I mean, and that's, well, obviously you're at a point now where, you know, you're married and you have a kid. And
and that doesn't only hurt me now, it hurts them.
Yeah,
you know?
and there's more at stake. The stakes are higher for sure.
Exactly.
There's rumors that you skated El Toro. Do you care to comment on any of that? Talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really good comments, to be honest. That's the reason I left Venture. Because I wish I still had the phone with the footage on it, but there's a frame where I roll out of frame. I tried tray flip, and I land on it multiple times. I broke 3 trucks in one day. I broke a truck, rolled to I broke a truck wheel bite, fell forward on my hip. Had another complete, broke another truck, fell forward to my hip. Fucking genius Devin's like, hey, you got 2 good trucks, because I was like, I'm done. I broke 2 trucks on a complete. He's like, you got 2 good trucks still, put those together. So I put those together, and I tried a 3rd time, and I bend that truck on the fucking, technically the rollaway. I'm not about to say I did it, because I'm going to go back still, or if I was to go back, I'd still have to go back, you know. But like, had the fucking trucks not broke, I would have rolled away, basically, is what I'm saying.
Maybe Ventures are good, but just not for El Toro.
Yeah, I guess, dude. I don't know. But then I was just like, I fucking hit up Jared and was like, can I get back on Indy, you think? Do you think Rhino will let me back on, dude? Because I rode for Indy back in the day.
Yeah.
And like, it was kind of like they had such a big team. I was being like a little kid thinking like, oh, I'll never get a pro truck. I was like, big deal was to me. I don't know, fucking at the time. Now I don't care. I just want to ride a good truck.
It's still a good story. I mean, basically the reason why you didn't make it is because you broke 3 trucks. Yeah. And that is what it is. Yeah. I mean, you know, that you're not shitting on anybody saying that.
Yeah.
But, okay, so I was at Sports Arena. And
San Diego Sports
Arena, triple set. And you did big spin, first trick?
Tray flip was first, I think.
Tray flip was first, and big spin was like right after it.
Yeah, big spin was first try. I got lucky.
Yeah.
Actually, big spins became a first try thing for me over the last couple of years. Not to say everything's first try when I big spin it, but I've done a few big spins first try to where like it's been the joke. Like, you gonna big spin this first try now? You gonna big spin that first try now? Like, that 8 flat 8 in Whittier that I did for the ender in my real street part. That was first try somehow, and then the first trick I did from.
So do you back 180 at first, or just big spin? Like just ollie and then go straight to big spin. You just know. And there's another thing too.
Such a muscle memory.
Really?
Yeah.
It just you already know where to put your feet. You know how to do it. There's no questioning it. I'm gonna land on it right here. I'm gonna roll away.
Yeah. Around the time I tray flipped Davis Gap, that was how tray flips were for me. Like that's why I was able to do it on that, because it was such a muscle memory thing. Like tray flips were my trick, but then doing big spins so much over the last couple of years, that's became my trick. So that's another reason I haven't gone back to El Toro to do the tray flip, because I've been in this battle in my head. Like, do I try tray flip again? Do I try big spin now? Also, another thing about tray flipping Davis. I had Gary Rogers come out with an episode of Skate Line saying about like something he heard that I tray flipped Davis Gap. And I saw him in person or whatever at the barracks one night at Skate Copa, he's like, hey, you trade flip Davis? Are you scared of the Davis cap? And I was like, nah, not yet. Like, never been. And I was like going up to sack like the following couple of weeks or something. I think like up there they were maybe making a joke saying I skated it. So like that episode came out. And then next thing you know, I'm like on my way up there watching the episode, and I'm like, what the fuck? So like now I felt like
It's like premonition.
It was like,
yeah, you kind of have to do it almost.
yeah, it was like now
In a weird
he
way.
almost like said it for me type
Yeah.
thing, and I'm like on my way up there to do it. Another thing, that was the first trick I had ever filmed in Etnies. First day
Really,
of
the
wearing
three
Etnies.
flip Davis gap.
Yeah, that was the first clip I'd ever gotten in Etnies.
That's a big
because
gap.
It was the first trick I'd ever.
Because it's kind of almost too big for the run up, right? You had to really charge the run up because the size of the gap is longer than how much run up weight you had. I mean, obviously I only ollied it in back in the day.
Only ollied it, dude.
But I remember being there, and I remember struggling to get the run up. Like I remember like getting off the back and running like and jumping on my board, you know, as fast as I could, and I couldn't imagine doing a flip trick that fast. And this brings me to the next question. You've been known for doing flip tricks at like really, really, you know, really fast. That was like some shit on the barracks they had of you, and then they scooted stuff back on the 10 stair and had you flying over that. Like, does it matter to you what speed you go at? Like your most comfortable tricks: kick flip, 3 flip, backside flip, big spin. Do those tricks matter to you, or does it not really matter the speed?
No, well, those things at the barracks were like kind of, those were my ideas.
Oh, really?
I would tell them like, yeah, I want to put a bench here. I want to set this up, or like, and then we'll be like, well, let's see how far we can go, like off this. Like I'll set stuff far and back, you know, and like see how far I can get eventually. And like the speed was basically just however fast I could go, like to clear it, you know.
I'm just saying, but it's some of the things you're doing, the size of them, like it's almost full speed, right? Like Sports Arena was full speed, and you still like on the big spin, you clip the last 2 stairs.
Yeah, I couldn't even
because
get the
it's
full
so
speed.
long. I mean, it's definitely low and long. That's what Sports Arena is. Like, and big spin's a scoopy trick. It's not a poppy trick. So like a frontside flip, Tommy frontside flipped it, but you pop on a frontside flip. But a big spin is just a straight scoop, so you don't really go up. You just go out. Yeah. So
tray flip too, kind of. You get a little more pop.
Yeah, a little more than a big spin.
I think I clipped 1 stair on tray flip, and I clipped 2 stairs on big spin.
And did you give a shit?
Huh?
Did you care?
Nah, I went back up and was about to try backside flip, and somebody was like, why? And I was like, you're absolutely right. I'm fucking done here, dude. But dude, that was cool. That was a cool day too, man. I had to drive down to SD, and I was in traffic for like 3 hours. Got there as the triple set started. You guys had already finished the double set. I'm not saying you guys.
No, I got there as the triple set started too. I missed the double set.
Dude, so I didn't even get to skate the double set. I had to basically ollie the triple set for warm up. But
that seems like it's, I mean, I hate to say it, but you're young, and that seems like,
dude, yeah, it
seems like it's your cup of tea. Like, you know, like it's a low, long thing. You know, it seems like right up your alley.
Well, I'd rather have height. I'd rather have like proper
dimensions.
Dimensions, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone would.
Even that 5 flat 5 in La Jolla back when I big spin that in on Powell Peralta, the first time I did that, I clipped the stairs too. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's why it's a scoopy trick. It doesn't pop. You know, it is what it is. But back to the question, you don't. Speed doesn't matter. Like for me, the faster I go, the sketchier every flip trick gets because I didn't grow up skating doing flip tricks off stuff. Like in my ideal scenario is the dimensions are something's high but not very long, so I don't have to go very fast, so I can really slow it down and control it. But it seems like with you, speed doesn't really matter.
Well, for me, because I would always skate the Cerritos drop. Like, I'd always try to run at it as fast as I could, too, because, I don't know, I mean, I couldn't, like, find a bigger, there was only one size drop there eventually, so when it didn't, like, I couldn't get a bigger thing, I was like, how do I get it bigger for myself? So I would just try to run as fast as I can, throw it down, and go as far as I could, and, I don't know, that became a cool thing, and then, yeah, I don't want to drag on that question. So
no, it's all good.
My ADD's already got me going.
I totally
back and forth.
appreciate that. Another rumor, not even a rumor, but it's like it's been told that you, at some point throughout this last 4 years of your video parts, you had 1 or 2 ACL mishaps, like or torn ACLs or partially torn ACLs. Like, what's the story there?
Oh man. So I was told I pretty much tore my ACL. Basically, it was misdiagnosis.
Okay, I see.
Basically, it was misdiagnosis. Like, it was a ligament right next to the ACL, but the doc was like, you pretty much tore your ACL. So I'm under the impression that I pretty much tore my ACL, not thinking that it's a ligament next to it.
Yeah, there's two ligaments in your knee that hold it together, a PCL and an ACL. The PCL you can rupture and still semi-skate. A lot of people have done it. The ACL, that's what I heard. I was like, he's got a torn ACL, and I was like, I've torn my ACL twice, and
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine olling off a curb with a torn ACL. It's doable, but it takes a shit ton of rehab and these super gnarly braces. So I was like, what? How is this possible?
Yeah, and I'm like wearing this crazy knee brace, and also the kneecap had been dislocated, and the muscle structure, they said, brought it back into place, and in that process chipped the kneecap. So I guess they said there was this chip of the kneecap floating around. They showed me x-rays and stuff and everything. So yeah, the whole like it's my ACL because I'm like, okay, well,
when
what
did
else
you
is
figure
going
out
on?
it wasn't your ACL?
I told my manager that it was like a misdiagnosis. Don't want shit to hit the fan, like this and that, like just like it's all good, like what yada yada, like fucking blah blah blah, like. And it could have fell back on me because I didn't want.
I mean, no one's judging you either way. I mean, you're out there killing it and you're making video parts. It doesn't really matter what shapes your knee in, except more so I'm asking big picture questions. And if you go out and jump down a ton of shit with a torn ACL, it damages your knee for life.
Because, So I'm pretty sure it wasn't that thing.
Yeah.
My right knee's chilling now. I've actually had to start doing PT on my left from all the compensation it did. And now my right ankle, has like ankle spurring and fucking.
Yeah, I mean, what you're doing, you have to know is taking its toll on your body, even if you're pulling it off, even if you're making it happen, even if you're making shit.
Those bales are definitely.
Yeah, the bales in between.
I have arthritis in my spine.
You probably have less bales than most people, but you're pushing it harder than everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but minus a few people. He's got Nigel and a couple others out there that are going
I
as
don't
hard.
even compare myself to him at all. He's
Well, I mean, no one can really
level.
compare themselves to Nigel, but
I don't really compare myself to anybody, to be honest. I'm just a fan of skateboarding. Fuck, dude, it's crazy. Like, I see so much negativity looked at in skateboarding these days, and I just stay out of it now. I'm just like, I don't even. Like,
I respect that.
I could comment something. Like, it's crazy though, because I could even like write something nice these days, and like the way people talk on social media, I could see it getting perceived wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just throw in fist bumps. I just throw fist bumps and keep rolling.
Yeah, or like I'll type shit sometimes, and I'll be like, "Fuck, dude, I don't want someone to read this the wrong way." Or like,
I know. You can't go wrong with a heart and a fist bump. I go it every day. I'm just heart fist bump. Just keep at it. All right, so let's wrap it up. You've been married a couple years.
Yep.
You got a kid. London's one and some change. You had a video part come out for her birthday. That's very sweet of you. And you just put the Etnies video to rest. What's next?
Real Street's also again this year.
The Real
Got
Street
another
is
part
here.
coming
I did
up.
an interview, and they asked me about you in the Real Street interview. They asked me, I guess they're asking, I don't know.
During the Davis Gap, in my
Old
mind, I was
pros.
like, this is why they had him interview me. They knew something about this was going to come up, and we'd be talking about the guy who all he did. And the guy who
I don't know that. I think Burnett just, maybe he did. Maybe he did. But they did an interview. They asked me about, basically a little bit about you, but working on Real Street. But what's next in like life? Like, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to just keep making video parts till you can't? You want to keep jumping off shit till you can't? Like, or do you even care? Do you even think about that?
I want to make enough money to retire happily. That's exactly what's on my mind.
And when you mean retire happily, is that like buy a house?
Like
pay
when
for
I
everything?
can't skate, I want to make sure I have enough money to still like support my family if I need till I'm dead. You know what I mean?
Is there something that, is it like, you want to prove to yourself, prove to someone, or is it just that you feel like you have this potential and you just want to do it? Like what's driving you? What's pushing you every day to go out and skate and handle this and film parts in a month? And like, is it opportunity? Is it like,
I guess like a lot of things come to mind, just like the fact of like it's kind of the only thing I've ever known, and like I guess when you find something you're good at, you really pursue it. And for a lot of people, they're kind of good at a lot of things. I was never too good at a lot of things. Like I couldn't, like I played basketball, I played baseball, I was in Taekwondo for 3 years, but like none of that was like good for me. Like I didn't find like the love for it, like I found a love for skateboarding, like, and that just took me. Like I just, every day I had like the skate park to go to, like that was just all that was on my mind. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't want to be home. Wanted to be at the skate park all day long and just.
I mean, that makes sense when you're a kid, but right now you're working hard. You're putting in like,
Oh yeah.
And I'm just
true.
wondering like what's driving you. Like, I mean, I know what drove me a lot when, like, I feel like for the first half of my career, I was trying to prove to someone that I had something to offer, because my father wanted me to go to college, and I felt like I'd let him down, and I never really got the like acknowledgement growing up that I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I was in thirst of that acknowledgement. And at first it was external, it was from other people. And then as soon as I got it from other people, I felt like how empty that was.
I was talking to a buddy about that recently, and how not growing up with a father figure, like, kind of made me, when I got the, like, say, like, when I was talking earlier about how I would do stuff at the skate park and people were like, oh, the golden boy, prodigy child, like, that recognition right there from friends alone was, like, sick. Like, the acknowledgement
like
of,
you
like,
needed it.
Yeah, dude, like, I was lacking that, and, like, going back to saying how I've been, like, figuring out a lot about myself is because, like, I went and saw this counselor, and she like, just helps me, like, kind of, like, tell me what's
work through stuff.
Yeah, work through stuff. Like, tell me what I've been, like, going through as a kid and how that's affecting me now.
It's respect that you're doing that because, you know, a lot of people wait way late in life to figure their shit out. I mean,
Yeah.
You know?
And a lot of it comes from marriage, too. Like, marriage is hard, dude.
It does.
Marriage is fucking hard.
Yeah, there's no one that's going to tell you to figure your shit out like your spouse. And,
Exactly.
Yeah, like your wife.
And, yeah. So, like, we'll just, it's tight. She's got my back.
Awesome.
Got my back like a JanSport.
All right, so this is it. If you were to leave some last words out there for the kids out there that are jumping off stuff, that want to be like Chris Joslin, what would you tell them?
Just make the right choices. You know, you got wrong choices and you got right choices. Just make the right choices.
How do you differentiate between the two?
You'll know, because everyone knows when they're making the wrong mistake. Everyone knows it, as much as they don't want to admit it. You know in the back of your head you're making the wrong mistake. Make the right one. You got a conscience. That conscience tells you what's right. Make the right choice. Even if it's not in skateboarding and confidence levels, just in life, make the right choices. And if you're not doing the wrong things, like you'll be right. You'll have the right head on your shoulders. You know.
All right. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it.